First read is your briefing from Meet the Press and the NBC political unit on the day's most important political stories and why they matter. Bernie Sanders' health care plan is popular, but maybe only for now, as Senator Bernie Sanders, of Vermont, introduces his single-payer Medicare for All Act today. The legislation couldn't be more popular. At least 15 Democratic senators have signed on to Sanders' bill, and they include many of the party's other 2020 potential presidential candidates, from Kamala Harris and Kirsten Gillibrand to Cory Booker. What's more, a June 2017 Kaiser Family Foundation poll found 53% of Americans supporting single-payer, the highest level of support on this Kaiser question dating back to 1998. And when called Medicare for All, that support grows to 57%. But that's not the entire story. When respondents were presented with an argument that single-payer / Medicare for All would raise taxes, opposition grew from 40% to 60%. And when presented with an argument that the plan would give the government too much control, disapproval went up to 62%. And here is how Republicans are already hitting Democrats on the issue. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders plans to introduce his single-payer health care legislation Wednesday, but Tammy Baldwin cannot wait to tell folks that she supports his $32 trillion health care plan, the National Republican Senatorial Committee said. Baldwin is the sole backer of Sanders' bill from a state President Trump carried in 2016, and she's up for re-election next year. Strikingly, Sanders, for now, is leaving out the raising taxes component from his legislation. As he described his legislation, Sanders focused on its simplicity, suggesting that Americans would be happy to pay higher taxes if it meant the end of wrangling with healthcare companies. The size of the tax increase, he said, would be determined in a separate bill, The Washington Post's Dave Weigel writes. Rather than give a detailed proposal about how we're going to raise $3 trillion a year, we'd rather give the American people options, Sanders said. Then again, did Republicans making the same arguments against the milder version of Obamacare? It's a government takeover. It's going to raise your taxes, blunt some of the attacks against single-payer? We'll find out in 2018, 2020 and probably beyond. And Baldwin is going to be your canary in the coal mine. Sanders says his bill will be phased in over 4 years. Here's some other reading on the subject. Bernie Sanders' op-ed in the New York Times, the transition to the Medicare for All program would take place over 4 years. In the first year, benefits to older people would be expanded to include dental care, vision coverage and hearing aids, and the eligibility age for Medicare would be lowered to 55. All children under the age of 18 would also be covered. In the second year, the eligibility age would be lowered to 45 and in the third year to 35. By the fourth year, every man, woman and child in the country would be covered by Medicare for All. But here's Democratic strategist Bill Scher writing in Politico, Democrats are committing themselves to years more of treacherous health care debate, at a time when there are more pressing issues to confront. They are emulating Donald Trump's penchant for quick fix, bumper sticker solutions that prove to be, in his own words, more complicated once in power. And instead of maintaining a candid relationship with its ideological base in order to temper expectations, the party establishment is indulging it, risking bitter disappointment in the future. Do the White House's attacks on Comey amount to witness intimidation? Back in June, after President Trump fired former FBI Director James Comey and after he raised the specter of tapes of their conversations, some legal and ethics experts charged that the president was engaging in potential witness intimidation. And was the White House doing the same thing yesterday from the press secretary's podium? I think there is no secret Comey, by his own self-admission, leaked privileged government information, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said. His actions were improper and likely could have been illegal. When Huckabee Sanders was asked if Trump would encourage the Justice Department to prosecute Comey, she answered, "That's not the president's role. That's the job of the Department of Justice, and something they should certainly look at." When asked later if she was encouraging the Justice Department to investigate Comey, Huckabee Sanders said, "I'm not here to ever direct DOJ into actions that they should take. Remember, Comey is likely to be a key witness in the Russia investigation that Special Counsel Robert Mueller is pursuing. Legislative efforts to fix DACA take a step backwards. There's a strong assumption in Washington that Congress will find a way to fix the DACA program, which President